everybody. Welcome once again to Playing the Tips. This week at the Arnold Palmer Invitational at Bay Hill Club in Orlando, Florida. Before we get started, like usual, I like to review last week's tournament. Last week we were at the Honda Classic at PGA National, and it was a great week. There are very few weeks where I feel like the course was the winner for the week, and that was definitely the case this last week. PGA National is just such a great course, provides such a great show, really tests the golfers, and just shows how difficult the conditions are out there for those guys that are playing. Just such a great closing stretch and puts so much pressure on those guys, makes them hit some really tough shots coming down the stretch, and that was on full display this last week, especially on Sunday. Sungjae Im, he was really tough coming down the stretch. Like we talked about in our show last week, it was going to be important to avoid mistakes, and he did just that. He avoided mistakes coming down the stretch when everybody else made them. Most impressively, he birdied the two par threes at 15 and 17, which were incredibly tough, really long holes into the wind, and he put them real close and birdied those holes, and that turned out to be the difference. Just thinking about the other guys that were in contention on the 18th hole, Brendan Steele, he put his in the water. Mackenzie Hughes, he duck hooked his, put his in the top deck on the observation stands on the 18th hole. And Fleetwood had a chance, had birdied 17, and on 18, he went in the water as well. So everybody else kind of crumbled down the stretch. Excuse me. So 18, as I watched the players play that hole, it's just such a risk-reward second shot. A really long second shot, typically 5 wood or possibly 3 wood into that green that has the stands on the left and the water on the right. And guys, they feel like they have a chance to go for it, and they feel like they can convert, possibly eagle, but typically have an easy birdie. But you run the risk of ending up in the water. I thought that Fleetwood, he maybe would just lay up and pitch up close, give himself a decent look at a birdie, but he decided to risk it, and it ended up costing him. We talked about the importance of avoiding double bogeys or worse, and once again, the winner had 0 double bogeys on the week. Sungjae Im, he had 0 double bogeys. Just really great golf. I wish more golf courses were like this and tested the players. I think the courses that are memorable are ones like this that have some really memorable shots, really tough decisions that need to be made. Guys need to be creative, learn how to manage the course. I think we need more courses like this and fewer where guys can just put it in the middle of the fairway, stick it to a couple feet, and tap in for birdie. Well, with that week behind us, time to look ahead to another great week. The Arnold Palmer Invitational. It's a great event, one of the better events that we have on the tour. This week, it should be playing 7,454 yards, and it's a par 72. There's 4 par 3s, 4 par 5s, and just a really great all-around test once again. Just for your information, Adam Scott, he is in the field this week, and he is one of the co-sharers of the course record of 62. This course, it's another unique one. It requires a complete game. If you look at Francesco Molinari, who was the winner last year, his winning recipe was pretty well rounded. He was tied for first in strokes gained off the tee, 6th in greens in regulation, 4th in strokes gained putting, and 5th in scrambling. Similar to PGA National, it's going to be important to manage the course and avoid trouble. As I reviewed last year's Arnold Palmer Invitational and compared it to the Honda Classic last week at PGA National, pretty unsurprisingly, a lot of the top 10 finishers from last week at the Honda finished in the top 20 at Bay Hill last year. So Fleetwood last year, he tied for 3rd place, as well as Sungjae Im. Ben On, he tied for 10th, and Brendan Steele tied for 17th. So those were guys that were able to manage the course really well, shape some shots, play in some difficult conditions, just really solid tee to green players. So that's one of the more important statistics to look at this week is strokes gained tee to green. Bay Hill has some really unique features that bring some statistics into play that really need to be considered. So it has the 5th lowest greens in regulation percentage at 57%. So that means just about half of the greens are going to be missed this week. So in order for guys not to drop strokes, they're going to have to be able to scramble. So scrambling is going to be an important statistic. As was mentioned with Francesco Molinari, he was 5th in scrambling, and it ended up paying off for him. Proximity to the hole. So the greens are pretty average in size, maybe a little bit bigger than normal. The proximity to the hole was only 40 feet on average, which was the 3rd longest on the tour. When you combine that with the fact that the greens are typically around 13.5 on the Stimpmeter, which is one of the fastest you'll see on the tour all year, you're going to get a lot of long and fast putts, which is typically a recipe for some 3 putts. So guys may be on the green in 2 and are going to 3-putt for a bogey, or they're not going to be able to pitch it close to get up and down for a par. So a statistic you might not commonly look at, might be important to look at this week, is 3-putt avoidance. And this is where you can find some guys who are not highly ranked, maybe not projected to win the tournament, but can easily slip into the top 10, get you a lot of value and get you a lot of points for not a lot of money spent. So looking, for example, just at that statistic, some of the guys that are in the top 10 in 3-putt avoidance that are in the field this week: Bo Hostler, Nick Taylor, Patrick Rogers, Scott Piercy, Phil Mickelson, Bubba Watson, as well as just strokes gained putting overall. Patrick Reed, not great tee to green, but phenomenal putter, has allowed him to win some tournaments. So he may be able to either win a tournament or sneak into another top 10 just with good putting skills. Other guys that are top 10 in strokes gained putting: Denny McCarthy, Andrew Putnam, Kevin Na. I don't know that anybody can say his last name without butchering it. Janawanatananand, something like that. I call him Jazz just because that's his first name. It's easier. So Jazz, he's in the top 10 in strokes gained putting. And JT Poston. So those, again, are some guys that may be worth considering just because of the tough putting conditions this week. So just looking at the course overall, there are chances to score on the par 5s. Those are the best chances to pick up strokes. But the par 3s and par 4s are really tough. All 3 of the par 3s typically are going to play over 200 yards, and the par 4s are also really tough. So looking at players who rank well in par 3 and par 4 scoring is going to be an important statistic to look at. Maybe looking specifically at par 3s that are over 200 yards or approaches, over 200 yards or between 175 and 200 yards will be important statistics to look at. Basically, what I'm trying to say is there are a lot of statistics that come into play each and every week, and the nice thing is I dive deep into these each and every week and find the players that rank well in these important categories that are important this week, and I dissect, who ranks well in which category, and if they rank well in multiple categories and they have a strong history at a specific tournament, that's kind of a recipe for finding the guys that are best to pick this week. So recommend you check out my core plays section on dfscheatsheet.com, where I break down all these statistics, all the players that rank well in these categories, players that have played well here in the past, or players that are just playing well as of late and may not be projected to do well statistically, but could surprise you and place well. So definitely check it out. It should be going up probably tomorrow evening, and be sure to check it out before you make your lineups this week. And we will catch you soon.